Imagine you're standing in a field. It's the middle of the day. The sun is high, the sky is blue, and then, in the span of a few minutes, it starts going dark. Not cloudy dark, not storm dark. The birds stop singing, the air gets cold, shadows sharpen into strange curved slivers on the ground, and right above you, the sun, the one thing in the sky that has never once failed to rise, is being eaten alive. You have no idea what a moon is doing up there. You have no idea this ends in 4 minutes. As far as you know, the sun is dying, and it's taking the entire world with it. This actually happened to people over and over again for hundreds of thousands of years, and how they reacted still shapes the way we think today. Before we get to what people believed, let's talk about what a total solar eclipse actually does to a human body that has no idea it's coming. The temperature can drop several degrees in minutes. Animals react like it's nightfall. Birds go quiet. Insects start their evening chorus hours early, and grazing animals start heading back to shelter, confused about why the day is ending twice. Then there's the light itself. It doesn't dim like a sunset. It narrows. The world gets a strange, metallic, twilight color that doesn't match any time of day the human eye recognizes. Right before totality, thin, wavy lines of light and shadow, real physical bands of moving light, ripple across the ground, like the world itself is glitching. And then, for a few minutes, the sun is simply gone. Only a ring of fire remains around a black disk in the sky, and stars that have no business being visible at noon suddenly appear. Modern people, with a 5-second Google search, know exactly what this is. Ancient humans had no search bar. All they had was their eyes, their fear, and each other. Almost every ancient civilization independently arrived at some version of the same idea. Something was eating the sun. In ancient China, the explanation was a celestial dragon devouring the sun whole, and the response was immediate and loud. People ran into the streets banging drums, pots, and pans, screaming, trying to scare the dragon into spitting the sun back out. It sounds almost funny now. It wasn't funny to them. If the noise didn't work, they believed the sun might just not come back. In Norse mythology, it wasn't a dragon. It was a wolf. Skull, eternally chasing the sun across the sky, finally catching it. Parents reportedly told their children to look away and stay close, because if the wolf succeeded, nobody could say what would happen to a world with no sun in it. The response was the same instinct as the Chinese one: make noise, scare it off, save the sun. Across Mesoamerica, some cultures believed the sun was under attack from a jaguar, the most feared predator in their world, now turned against the sky itself. Weapons that were normally used for hunting were suddenly pointed upward instead. In parts of North America, Choctaw tradition tells of a mischievous black squirrel gnawing away at the sun until it disappeared completely. The fix was the same idea in a different costume. Make as much noise as physically possible, throw things into the air, shoot flaming arrows toward the sky, anything to startle the creature into letting go. And in ancient Mesopotamia, the fear went even darker. Eclipses weren't just cosmic, they were read as a personal death threat against the king. Babylonian priests believed an eclipse meant the gods were coming to kill their ruler specifically. So they did something extraordinary. They installed a substitute king, a temporary stand-in, sometimes a criminal or a commoner, to sit on the throne and absorb the curse, while the real king hid. When the danger had passed, the substitute was quietly removed from power, and the real king returned, technically untouched by the doom written in the sky. Think about that. An event that lasts a few minutes reshaped who ruled an empire. So what did an average person, not a king, not a priest, actually do in the moment? Mostly, panic together. Communities came outside in the middle of the disappearance, not to watch it, but to fight it. Noise was the universal weapon, because if you couldn't reason with an invisible force eating the sun, maybe you could scare it. Drums, screaming, banging metal, shooting arrows at the sky, in some cultures, as if you could physically wound whatever was attacking. In several traditions, pregnant women were told to stay indoors, out of fear the eclipse could harm an unborn child, a belief that, remarkably, still persists in parts of the world today. Others treated it as a moment to reflect, to atone, to make amends with people they'd wronged. The logic being, if the world might be ending, you didn't want to die with unfinished business. And when the sun finally, always came back, it wasn't treated as physics working as expected. It was treated as a victory. They had scared it off. They had saved the sun. Every single time, for tens of thousands of years, that belief was reinforced, because every single time, the noise worked. But somewhere in that fear, a few people started noticing a pattern. Ancient Chinese astronomers were tracking eclipses on official calendars over 4,000 years ago, and legend holds that two royal astronomers, Shi and Ho, were executed for failing to predict one, having been too drunk to warn the emperor in time. True or exaggerated, the story survived for a reason. Predicting the sky wasn't just science to them, it was survival, a matter of life and death for the people whose job it was to know. By the time we reach ancient Greece, something had shifted. The philosopher Thales of Miletus is said to have predicted a solar eclipse in 585 BCE, one that occurred in the middle of a battle between two warring armies. According to the ancient historian Herodotus, both sides saw the sky go dark mid-fight, took it as a sign the gods wanted peace, and put down their weapons on the spot. A prediction, not a prayer, not a drum. A calculation, and it may have ended a war. But knowing the truth wasn't always safe. About a century later, another Greek philosopher, Anaxagoras, went further than anyone before him. He taught that the sun wasn't a god at all, just a burning rock, and that eclipses happened because the moon simply passed in front of it. For saying that out loud, he was put on trial for impiety, and only narrowly escaped execution by fleeing the city. Being right, it turned out, could be just as dangerous as being wrong. That's the moment the story quietly shifts from fear to understanding, and it took humanity thousands of years, and more than one person's exile, to get there. Here's the uncomfortable part. None of this was stupidity. It was the most rational response available with the information they had. If every single day of your life the sun has never once failed to rise, and suddenly it starts disappearing in broad daylight with zero explanation, assuming something is attacking it isn't foolish. It's actually a reasonable guess, built from every pattern they'd ever observed. Fear of the unexplained isn't a flaw unique to ancient humans. It's the default setting of every human brain that's ever existed, including yours. The only difference between them and us is a few thousand years of accumulated pattern recognition we now call astronomy. They didn't have less intelligence. They just had less time. And here's the part that might surprise you. Knowing all of this, having the science, having the calendars, and the calculations, and the satellites, hasn't actually canceled the feeling. When a total eclipse crossed North America in 2017, and again in 2024, millions of people who understood exactly what was happening, who could tell you the orbital mechanics down to the second, still stood in fields and parking lots and backyards, watched the sky go dark in the middle of the day, and cried. Not out of fear, out of something closer to what their ancestors felt, just with the terror replaced by awe. So next time you're somewhere, and the sky goes dark in the middle of the day, during an actual eclipse, try something. Don't check your phone first. Just watch it, the way they did. Feel the temperature drop. Notice the birds go quiet. For a few minutes, you'll be feeling exactly what every single one of your ancestors felt. Going back further than written history. The same chill, the same silence, the same instinct to look up and wonder if the world is ending. The only difference is, you already know it isn't. They didn't. And they had to decide, in real time, whether to bang a drum, hide a king, or start a war, all because the sun blinked. If you want more of the things about history nobody actually teaches you, subscribe, because next week's video is about something almost nobody survived the first time it happened.